Howdy and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over how to grip a semi-automatic pistol. This method applies to almost any semi-automatic pistol, regardless of if it's a Beretta, Glock, 1911 or whatnot. So we're going to take a couple lessons from Jiu-Jitsu and apply those to the handgun. So those two things are leverage and contact. Typically in Jiu-Jitsu, the more contact I have with somebody, the better I can be able to control them. And then from there, we find leverage points to get that person to do what we want them to do. So let's treat this handgun as a lever. This is my blue gun. Let's treat this handgun as a lever. So the slide right here reciprocates back and forth. Let's pretend the back here is a hinge on a cattle gate, and this is a very, very heavy cattle gate. If I wanted to move this cattle gate as easy as possible, with this being my hinge point, it is much easier to move it from the furthest point from the hinge. It's essentially torque. It's all about leverage. So the further I can get away from the hinge point, the more I can control it. So that really applies with our support hand. Also, what I want to do, since the slide is reciprocating, I want to try to get my hand as high up on that gun, as close to that reciprocating slide as I can. This will help control recoil. So as I grip high on the gun, I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to show you all the back side. So you see this spacing right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this drumstick, or the meaty part of my hand, and I'm going to fill that gap. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my other four fingers around of my support hand, wrap those around the gun. So like I said, contact. We want as much contact of our hands on the pistol as we can. The more contact I have with something, the better I can control it. So just keep in mind when you're shooting, if you're having to adjust your grip between shots, you're not gripping it properly, or you're not gripping it hard enough. So please remember that. So I want to get as much of my hand on that gun as possible. One other thing I wanted to talk about was grip pressure. So we have to remember that the gun is going to take the path of least resistance. So that being said, I need to have equal amount of pressure on both sides of the gun. So 100% with your primary hand and 100% with your other hand. I want to make sure that I'm gripping this pistol very, very hard. I don't want my knuckles to get white, but I want to make sure that I'm controlling the gun and the gun is not controlling me. So let's go back to the hinge point and that cattle gate. So primarily talking about my left hand, the further I can get my left hand closer to the muzzle, and make sure your fingers do not get out in front of the gun, but the closer, or the further I can move my support hand towards the muzzle, typically the better I can control it. So there's your leverage. It's my hinge point. The closer I can get my support hand up to the front of the muzzle, I can control that gun better. So I've got a high grip. My hand is filling that void, and if I need to, I can rotate, push my support hand a little bit further. Now let's talk about thumbs. One of the things I learned from Jedlinski, and it makes complete sense. If you've ever done any weightlifting or any type of grappling, and grappling we call it the C grip, and weightlifting they call it the suicide grip. Essentially what I'm trying to tell you, your thumbs don't do anything. They do not help you grip the pistol any better. My grip is just as strong right here on somebody as it is when I'm using my thumbs. So don't worry about your thumbs. The only thing I can tell you to do, get them off of the slide. However, the most important finger in the hand is the pinky. So let's go back to leverage. So here's my hinge point. With my support hand, I'm trying to get as close to here as we can. But also, with this slide reciprocating down here, the furthest I can get away from that hinge point up here, the better I can control it. So if I'm trying to get my left hand forward of the gun, that means my pinky is the most important finger in my grip. That pinky is going to grip the bottom of that frame very, very strongly. Okay, so I've got good control of that handgun. So if we can remember those principles, contact and leverage, it'll really, really help you. One thing I will tell you not to do, I see a lot of this with new shooters, they like to cross their thumbs in the back. That's great if you're shooting a revolver, but if you're shooting a semi-automatic pistol, well, this slide reciprocates. And if you stick your support hand thumb behind that slide, you're only going to do that once. We call that a concrete learning experience. You're not going to enjoy that. So as I said, we're going to get high up on the gun. Remember, your pinky is the most important finger in your grip. I want to have a good grip with my pinky down here. With my left hand, we're going to fill that void, and then however it works best for you, there's no really one perfect way to do that. You're just going to have to play with it and figure out what works well for you. Typically, the further I can get my hand closer to the end of that gun, the better I can control it. I appreciate you guys for watching. The handgun grip has evolved over the years, but I think the modern way that we're doing it now makes the most sense. We have the most contact with the gun. We're able to control recoil much better than we have ever been able to do it with a pistol, and we're kind of pushing limits now on the capabilities of both the person and the pistol. So remember, it's all about contact and leverage. Thanks again, guys. Remember, be safe, be smart, be skilled. Catch you on the next video.